John, where can we find you? By the way, you're all over the Saints interweb. Sports Illustrated, I know. Where can we find your work?
Yeah, if you just go to saints.media, that's probably the easiest way to keep up of SI's coverage of Saints News Network. Or, I'm on YouTube, Boot Krewe Media, do a lot of vlog stuff with them. So just expanding the skill set and just having fun covering this team. And hopefully this year it is a fun ride because the last two have been pretty rough.
Louisiana, also noted, I believe, for its swampy weather. How are you doing down there?
Whew. Trying to stay cool as possible, man. I have to pray over my AC every single morning. I wake up just to make sure it's good. So that's about the extent of how it is. And it's just one of those things where the humidity, it just hits you. And it's just like, you can't get a breath of fresh air. Like to inhale is just a challenge. To go check the mail and crack a sweat. I mean, it's hot. It's never a dull moment covering the New Orleans Saints. Let me just tell you that. We thought last week was crazy with the Sean Payton bomb, right, on Tuesday, and then all these types of things. But according to an interesting Tuesday evening reports by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport and New Orleans.football's Nick Underhill, Derek Carr has received permission from the Raiders to visit the Saints, which that visit is supposed to take place on Wednesday. Huge development, but as far as the first day goes, a real strong day. Everybody was there. Michael Thomas got his first catch of training camp, full go like we all anticipated, and what was said on Tuesday by Dennis Allen. Catches a good pass from Derek Carr, turns it upfield. Carr talking about just kind of the moment. It was really great to see, and just knowing what Michael Thomas has been through. It's exciting time for the Saints. I think on paper they have a very strong team. Very underrated team that people are going to start coming around on a little bit more. But I am encouraged with where this defensive line is right now. A lot of new faces, a lot of turnover. But Peyton Turner is one of those guys who's been with the program, been in it since day one. I think that's a real reason why he's having some of the success right now. And again, there's not a lot of pressure because Dennis Allen even said he's not looking at this end result for him. Just looking for development, right? And I think that's the biggest thing in encouragement.
I'd say this, that they haven't had this many picks since 2015. They made 9 picks, right? Mm-hmm. And 2002 was the other year that they made so many choices. And I think when you look at this roster, you have to come away with at least 3 or 4 guys that are going to impact this roster. And when you look at peeling back the layers, and you look at the state of the team, whether you look at aging players like Demario Davis or Cam Jordan, they're still playing at very strong, high levels. But you start looking at things like wide receiver. You got 2 guys that are under contract after this year, but everybody else is a free agent in some sort of capacity. So I think when you look at it, I think it's pretty easy to say, okay, you look at defensive tackle. At one point, they had 1 guy on the roster. Now they have a few because they went to free agency, and then they obviously re-signed Malcolm Rowe. At week 11, it's a chance for, you're going to have injuries. They're just part of the game, right? And so that's just going to be a spot where week 12, when you make that return against the Falcons, then you have a chance to get some key players back if that's the case. And look, anytime that you're able to get a bye that's not early in the season, I'm not a fan of those. The Saints have had those in the past, but chance to get healthy for some of these guys that have this early injury stuff in training camp, preseason, fingers crossed nothing happens, but any of those that do come up, it's a huge chance to be able to take some rest and really focus on that back half of the schedule where you're really going to be playing a lot of your most meaningful games. I always remember the season starts after Thanksgiving, right? And so for the Saints, they'll be ready, being at home, and be able to be healthy.
First and foremost point to hit on is the offense. I mean, this is kind of what we were expecting in training camp, just seeing how Derek Carr was working with the chemistry with a lot of these guys, the offensive line, and look, getting AK in space on a screen, just being able to find Michael Thomas, Juwan Johnson, all these connections that we've been looking for in training camp, all that put together, and they ended up putting a touchdown drive together. I mean, it was everything that you needed to see from this first team offense. So I was really encouraged by that. I didn't need to see anything else afterward.
I think the energy has been different. I feel like that this is a different team with a different mindset, with a different outlook this year. I feel like the excitement is there. I feel like that everybody from the top down is just in a mood where it's just kind of just positive. And I think that's just, when you look at last year, not that it wasn't, but just different vibes, new coaches in the building, new faces. I really feel like with Derek Carr at the helm that they feel really confident in where they're going.
Important news that's happened for the Saints. Sean Payton has been traded to the Denver Broncos. The Saints are going to get a first-round pick back this year and a second-round pick next year. And they're also going to send back a 2024 third-round pick to Denver. So initial thoughts, obviously hot off the presses, the first big domino to really fall for the Saints this offseason. Look, getting the pick, it's actually 30th overall, but with Miami forfeiting that pick, it's going to be 29 overall. So now you got two picks in the top 50.
Today's game is gone. Saints, they shut out the Raiders. Who would have saw this coming? 24-0 in the Superdome. I don't say who would have saw this coming, but you at least expected the Saints to win just because the way they talked in the locker room, rebounding from Alvin Kamara's impassioned speech against the Cardinals following that Thursday night loss. But for them to come out and shut out a Raiders offense that was in the top 5 in scoring, that's just crazy, right? I mean, Derek Carr was isolated to Devontae Adams, 1 catch for 3 yards, 5 targets. Josh Jacobs held under 50 rushing yards. I mean, Hunter Renfrow, non-factor in this game. I mean, this was pretty crazy. And it's just a testament of what happens when the Saints team can play complementary football. 3 minutes. That's all it takes, right? It doesn't take long to squander a lead, to have everything just kind of go to, hell in a handbasket, right? That's just kind of what we saw on Sunday from the Saints. Not ideal. The Saints did a great job. We talked about it on our pregame show that their best friend was going to be running the football here, controlling the clock, limiting the amount of possessions that Joe Burrow and company had going into this game. And look, you had this game. Illegal contact penalty, that's a tough one. Took away interception. That's a shame. And that's just kind of how this whirlwind of the season has gone for the Saints team, is that you do so many pretty good things, but this is a team that just doesn't have the luxury of making any mistakes or missing at any point in their season. This team, instead of going to 1-4, 2-3, starting to build off a little bit of this type of momentum is a good thing. Obviously, that wasn't a perfect product. There are some things that are very concerning. The big plays given up, Dennis Allen talking about 6 plays, and those are big plays, right? You got the bombs to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, the Kenneth Walker run. What's crazy to me is this is 10 games now that you've seen this team find ways to lose. And this is a winnable game against Pittsburgh, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you look at how things unfolded. Tackling is bad again. Defensively, couldn't get off the field. Offensively, you can't move the football. All phases look like crap. It just gives more questions than answers. And really, this was kind of like I don't want to say nail in the coffin of the season, because again, mathematically, yes, you're still alive. There's a lot of football still to be played, but 10 games in, you're not facing the right side of this thing anymore, right? You are behind the 8 ball. You are down to your final strike.
Really felt good about it. Everything that I heard and everything that I was told, he was playing A and B. And then the C option, nobody would have really liked probably. And, but the Saints weren't worried about the C and D option and all the other things. They were all in on Derek Carr. They felt really good about it happening. They had a great pitch to him. They talked about, all the different advantages of playing with the Saints. Yeah, I heard Jimmy Garoppolo heavily on there, and, that didn't excite me one bit. And nothing against Jimmy G. Agreed. It's just that I don't think that he had everything that the Saints wanted. And look, when you look at the contract price for it, I don't think they made out bad in it. You got to pay for a quarterback right now. I mean, look at what Daniel Jones got. That's ridiculous. I don't know how he got that much
for every touchdown pass he had last season, John. I
have signed me up. I can go throw a couple probably, and connects with Jimmy Graham kind of off on the right in the flats, and Graham takes the pass, and he just absolutely bulldozes, trucks, runs over Troy Pride, a cornerback. That's Jimmy, right? That is the vintage Jimmy that a lot of people knew. A lot of people will know. Not shy, contact, all that stuff. That's kind of like Jimmy's for real, right? Because we've kind of like, some people are saying, this guy's 36. Can he still play? We've kind of mentioned that and said that we believe he can still play. He looked good out there. But this is one of his good moments where he just trucks a cornerback.